Okay, so I'm gonna briefly, or try to briefly describe basically what's happening here. This is this morning, roughly 9:02:01, whatever it says up there on the top left corner. And I was outside. Actually, I was outside cleaning up poop, scooping poop, and just picking up the yard after the dogs and making sure there's nothing in the yard that they should not be playing with or have access to, and just double checking the fence and all that stuff, and just minding my business. Really, literally, just minding my business. And I have a neighbor who lives on the other side of the street that I know is connected to Barbara Potts, who I know has something to do with my stolen inheritance and the courthouse and things working against me. Whatever they're doing behind the scenes. So I believe that Barbara may be actually paying this guy to run rituals on me. Stress rituals, walking up and down the back alley with the dogs and allowing the dogs to, and it's typically to attack my dogs. I've also caught that particular neighbor talking to the other neighbors in the sex cult next door to me and talking to them about my dogs, asking and inquiring about my dogs. And I meditated on it and I got a download that they were going to try to kidnap one of my dogs and hold it for ransom. And so, as you can see, his dog is running loose in the alley now, this is another one of those stress rituals. And here he's appearing now, and he is lingering. And I told him, I know what you're doing. I know who you are. You better cut it out. And he played really stupid with me, and I didn't say anything more. I didn't respond to him, and he just lingered right there. And so I double checked to take a good look at the perimeter, so I know exactly what it looks like when I come back. And then he comes back through, and this is when I'm already heading back towards the house. And just the fact that he was taking so long, I said, you better stop playing with me. I know exactly what you're doing, and you better cut it out, or you're gonna end up dead or in jail. You better leave me alone, and I'm not fucking playing with you. And he lingered, but he walked away. And he couldn't really say shit. He couldn't say anything and didn't say anything because he knew I caught him, and he knew I knew what he was doing. And this is me in the other camera telling him at that particular point, stay out of my yard. I told you to stop fucking with me. You're going to end up dead or in jail. And then I just went in. That's when I said you're going to end up dead or in jail, right there. All right. Just to record it, or report it, record it, document, whatever. This man from next door is the same man that was involved in a plot to basically kidnap my dogs, or one of my dogs, and hold it for ransom. This is something that I did get psychically from downloads and from putting puzzle pieces together. And just as it was unfolding, I was actually receiving the downloads about it, to the point where I actually caught him in my backyard, kind of sizing up the backyard and looking at my dogs, taking inventory of what I had and whatnot. I caught him red-handed doing that, and I didn't say anything. I didn't have the opportunity to confront him, but he came to my front door. Well, actually, he went to my neighbors, and he was asking my neighbors. I'm not really sure what kind of questions he was asking, but he was trying to gauge their information to help him assess the risk. And I opened the door. I was already paying attention to what the neighbors were doing. Excuse me, because I know that they're all kind of plotting, and they are not to be trusted kind of people. So I was already paying attention and aware, and I literally caught them in the midst of their conversation, and I was very confrontational. I came outside and I said, if anything happens to my dogs, I'm coming straight to you. And I have that on video, because I was already, intuitively picking up on all of that. I'll link that video above right here. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and insert it right here. Click that link right there on the top right hand corner, and you'll see that video. So another time that I interacted with this person, there's actually two other times that I interacted with this person. This person was the cleanup man. So when Donatella and her father came to visit me, Donatella's father was on drugs. No one knew about it, and this is something that was uncovered while they were here. But he was apparently secretly doing drugs while living his life in California, and Donatella didn't know anything about it or the type of drugs that he was doing. All of that was revealed here. So it was revealed because he had a fit. He had a behavior. He was withdrawing, and he couldn't handle it. And I guess low vibers, they low vibe together, and they attract alike. all that good stuff. So he left here threatening to go find some drugs, and I told her, let him go, let him go. You're seeing the truth about him. You need to strengthen yourself and focus on this truth being unveiled, and then you can deal with the repercussions of him leaving later. I said, the most that he's going to do is he's going to go find some of that drug, and he'll be back when he's over it. And that's exactly what he did. And where he went, he actually went to this guy's house. This guy is known in the neighborhood as the package thief, the porch pirate. Okay, that's what they say about the people in his house, this guy's house, that they're the porch pirates. They're the ones who steal the packages. Now, there's an abandoned house on the corner block there, and that abandoned house used to be drug and gun infested. But we also think and believe that it was the house next door, which is this guy's house. So there's still guns and drugs here, even though the other house is abandoned. So clearly the gun and drug problem is in this guy's house, not the corner house. So I already know this guy is trash. I don't, I'm not even neighborly with him. I don't even say hello. He doesn't even have the privilege of hearing my voice. And so I was in Illinois, and I don't know exactly where, and I picked this guy and a girl up. And I wasn't even 100% sure that was my neighbor, but I did recognize the address or the vicinity of the address. I knew that street. I didn't know the house number. So I wasn't sure that this was my neighbor or not. And I really didn't care. I was very, very thankful to have a ride from Illinois that was literally in my neighborhood. That way I could go home and take a break. So I picked this guy up and this girl, and I take them home. And the whole time he was in the car, I was really sick to my stomach, and I knew I fucked up, that I had actually picked up my neighbor. And I was pretty sure that this was my neighbor. And I was like, well, I already picked them up. It's a long ride. They're in the car. We're on our way. Just deal with it. And so his girlfriend is clearly recovering from drugs, or probably like an overnighter. And, so I didn't want to do or say anything to provoke them. But they were talking about Kamala Harris and Donald Trump and all that stuff. And they specifically asked me for my input and how I felt about the whole Kamala Harris thing. And I didn't really open up about it, but I gave an answer that reflected my opinion. And I was honest and I was candid, but I was not in any way, shape, or form going into depth or being very specific. I didn't elaborate on anything. I barely wanted to have a conversation. More than anything, I was agreeable to be accommodating and tolerable. And, we had probably a 20-minute ride. So I wanted it to be pleasant. And still, I was not at that point 100% sure that this was my neighbor. And if I knew it was my neighbor, I didn't know that this was the neighbor who has been sabotaging me for a couple years now. So I didn't know. So we arrived at the destination, and sure enough, it's this guy. This guy has a hard time getting out of the car. I was just like, whatever, because everyone I meet, they get very obsessed with my energy. So I just thought, he's another one of them. So I gave him a second to fumble around, acting like he lost something. And I just watched him very carefully to make sure he wasn't planting something. And so he gets out. I go home. I literally turn the corner and I go home. I take a break. I clean out the car. I double check the car to make sure they didn't plant nothing in the back seat. I didn't find anything. But by the time I come inside from checking the car, and I've prepared my little lunch, and I'm sitting down and I'm about to relax and enjoy my lunch, I start getting notifications from the job app telling me that there was a customer complaint and all this and that. And so I read it in depth, and basically everything that I shared, and remember, I kept it extremely brief. I was honest. I was always honest, but I didn't tell him anything. My energy was honest. They specifically wanted a reaction from me as to how I felt about Kamala Harris, and I shared. I didn't see a problem with sharing that. And so it was used against me, but it wasn't used against me to hurt me. It was the whole scenario was used against me. The fact that this guy was in my car and in my energy gave him an opportunity to have power, or what he thought was power over the situation. So he filed a really nasty complaint claiming that I said a whole bunch of things and they were uncomfortable with the conversation and they were uncomfortable with me and this and this and that. So I said, oh, okay, so they playing dirty, no problem. So I explained to my job people that I have an ongoing complaint with these people, that these people are my neighbors, and that, this is part of the gang stalking from previous complaints. This is someone that the whole community is irritated with, and that it was a spiteful attack, that this person recognized that he had an opportunity to sort of get his leg back, I guess you could say, and he took it, and that it was too late for me. I was already caught when I decided to drive, and I told them, I said I should have canceled the ride and put them out. But I didn't want to do that because I didn't want to attract that. You know what I mean? I was trying to attract a better experience. I was trying to feed the experience with something positive. And, I was willing to take them home, even though I know that this was potentially a spiritual enemy, that I was still willing to do the right thing and be a blessing to them. And I put myself in a bad situation. I really should have ended the ride and kicked them out. I should have refused to take them home the minute I realized who they were or who they potentially could have been. And because I didn't do that, I paid for it. And that was this guy. This guy did that. So when I was sitting meditating, thinking about all this stuff, I asked myself, I said, do they have something to do with Barbara Potts? Has Barbara Potts actually hired these people? Because the day that I met Barbara Potts, I had already identified her car. She had been traveling and following me on 2 separate occasions. And so I already recognized her car. And one of the things that she said to identify herself was that she was looking for 3 loose dogs. And she pointed to his house area and she said, coming from that way. So she already knew who he was. She already knew where he lived. And she knew he had 3 dogs before one was sacrificed and now he only has 2. So she was aware of all of this. So she has to have something to do with this guy. And so I just blurted that out. Typically when I blurt things out is because spiritually, I know the answer is yes. But it's like my knowing. And those are the things that I just blurt out, that they tend to be right. And this is why it's a characteristic in me that it forces people to absolutely separate themselves from me, because I blurt out with people's truths. I blurt out with the secrets. I just blurt it out. And so I blurted that out. I said, I bet you Barbara has paid him to come over here, or he's got something. This is all tied together with Barbara Potts, the whole thing. And like I said, I speculated that because I had received downloads about that, but then I doubted the downloads. Like, why? Like, it doesn't make any sense that these powerful people would come down here and pay these little scrubs to mess with me. Like, for what? Like, what are we doing here? And I asked the universe, I said, give me a confirmation. Like, this is my 3rd or 4th time contemplating this. And I know I'm trying real hard to deny this fact. Hold on. So I asked the universe for confirmation. I asked for a specific sign relative to Barbara. I said, universe, if she is doing this, if she is hiring these people, I need an absolute confirmation. And I know that you have to leave the house. You have to get out to get the confirmations. You can get the confirmations sitting at home, but it's very difficult. Excuse me. And you still need to be engaged with the community some way, somehow. So you have to be online, or you have to be on TV, or you have to be listening to the radio in order to get these confirmations. All right. In order for those answers to come through, you have to be participative in the co-creative process. So that was it. I wanted my sign. So I left. I went to work, and sure enough, look what I saw. Like, the first thing I saw was this. So I know, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that this whole situation is tag message confirms to me that Barbara Potts is the go-to person for these criminal activities going on in the community. It's clearly Freemason. It's clearly, so there's a couple things that I was getting as well. It's exposed. It's all going to be exposed. It's been confirmed. The universe is confirming it, and now it's all going to be exposed.